All right, here is our video for composition of functions. That word composition is being used to say it's a function that is made up of other functions, okay, in general. But specifically, it's when we take one function and plug it into another function. So composite is plug one function into another. So the difference between that and what we've talked about previously is this. Here's a function f. And if I write this function notation, f of 5 means to take 5, a number, and plug it in for x. But it doesn't have to just be a number here. It could be an algebraic expression like x minus 2. Whatever's inside this parentheses is what you're substituting in for the variable. So I've taken that x minus 2, plugged it in for x, and now I have 2 times x minus 2 minus 5. But if that x minus 2 had been a function, let's call it g, and I had already named it, then what I would have done is taken function g and plugged it into function f. And we call that a composition of functions. And with symbolic notation, I can write that like this. This is read f of g of x. So it's saying instead of a number like a 5 here going into f here, it's a function g, which happens to be x minus 2. So that's what goes into the f function for the x. And another way we can write those symbols is this, with an open circle. And it's still f of g of x. And that is what's happening in this table here with these symbolic notations. Whatever is in the innermost parentheses is getting plugged into that outside function. Same over here. The way this is written, f, the f function would be getting plugged into the g function. So we're going to be practicing with that. In example 1, I'm given two functions, f and g, and I'm being asked to find f of g of x and g of f of x. And we're not going to be simplifying, we're just practicing plugging an algebraic expression into another function. So in this first one, f of g of x, the g is inside, I'm going to use inside in air quotes, and the f is outside, air quotes. So whatever's inside is getting plugged into whatever's outside. So I'm going to take my g of x function, this whole thing, square root of x minus 2, and plug it into f wherever I see an x. So I see two x's. So that whole function, square root of x minus 2, goes for this x, substitutes in there, and for this x. And we're not going to simplify or anything, we're just going to leave it like that. We're just practicing substitution. And then for this other notation, it's g of f of x. Well, it's still the same idea. The innermost function gets plugged into that outermost function. So this time I'm taking the f function, the x minus 3x, and plugging it into the g function wherever I see an x, which is right there. So the square root of x, which is now x minus 3x, and then minus 2. In this next example, example 2, we are given integers to substitute. So for this first one, this is read f of negative 2. And even though there's the same function, we're still going to be doing a composition, but it's just using f both times. So I would say I'm going to call this f of negative 2 the innermost, and once we get that, we're going to plug it into the outermost f as well. So we're going to start with this innermost notation, f of negative 2, and find out what that is. So that means plug -2 anywhere you see an x in the f function. So 2 times -2 squared minus 3. I'm following my order of operations, exponents first, multiplication next, and then subtraction. So f of -2 is equal to 5. So now I'm going to take that 5 and plug it into f again. So now I have f of 5. Because I just found that f of -2 is 5. So now instead of doing this, I already know it's 5. So now I'm figuring out f of 5. So go back to my f function, plug 5 in where I see x. Follow my order of operations. And I get 47. Over here, the notation is different. It's the open circle, but this is just another way of writing this, g of -1. So we're going to start with the innermost notation and find this first, g of -1. And then once I get that, I'll plug it into g again, because that's the outermost function. So here's g of -1 is -4. And now I take that -4 and plug it into g again. And get -16. Okay, and I want you to pause your video and do this bottom section yourself and try that out. Remember, with the open circle, it means this, f of g of -1. So you're going to find g of -1 first. Whatever answer you get there after you evaluate gets plugged into the f function. And over here, you're going to find f of 3 first, plug 3 into the f function, get that answer, evaluate for it, and then plug that into the g function. Pause your video now and do that. Okay, here is what your work should look like and what your answers should be.